So let me start off this video by saying that this is not Budokai Tenkaichi 4, nor is this Raging Blast 3. Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi is something brand new. The fighting style is unlike anything that's ever been in a Dragon Ball Z game. Now, whether that's a good thing or not is up to you to decide. Basically, in this game, instead of mashing the X button and the Y button and hoping to get a good combo, you have to use chance items where you press X or Y, hoping that you pick the right one. This, of course, means that the combat is quite a bit more slow-paced than usual, and if you think this will bug you, then I honestly think you might have a problem with this game. Personally, I don't think that it's that bad. I'm having a lot of fun even with the dumbed-down combat system, though I've seen a lot of people who absolutely cannot stand it. Pretty much everything about the combat is slowed down quite a bit, even to what you do when you get hit by a super attack. You have to choose between options such as Intercept, Evade, Guard, or as I like to call it, Secret Option D, Take it like a bitch. Now, it's not just completely a turn-based sort of thing. You can still walk up to people and you still have to mash the X button 3 times to start out one of these combos, or you can just press Y to do sort of a more powerful hit on them. The fighting style is actually pretty good in my opinion, though that's my opinion. That's the thing about this game, is that people have many different opinions about it, and I can't exactly say with certainty you will like the fighting system because it's really good, because there's a good chance that you may not. It sort of depends on your preferences, and if you need a fast-paced and rich action game. If you're looking for a Dragon Ball Z game where every single punch and every single button that you press on the controller has a very apparent effect on the screen and the way that the battle turns out, then this game is honestly probably not for you, and I would recommend you go to about any other Dragon Ball Z video game. In my opinion, the story mode is probably the best thing about this game, and probably the main thing you're going to be buying it for. The story mode is probably better than any of the recent Dragon Ball Z games have been. The story mode follows the anime pretty closely, however it doesn't cover some things exactly right, though the things that it does cover, it covers fantastic. There are about 15 remastered and reanimated cutscenes that are from the anime, and they're placed throughout the storyline. There are also some 3D scenes that are rendered sort of like how they were in the Budokai Tenkaichi series that happened before the battle and sometimes in the middle of the battle. Those are pretty awesome too.
What does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What? 9,000?!
However, it sort of does skip certain things, or it doesn't exactly cover them that well. For example, the story mode starts out at the beginning of Bardock, which is something that's pretty unique. It starts out showing Bardock fighting Frieza, the destruction of planet Vegeta, and Grandpa Gohan finding Goku as a child in the woods and taking him under his wing. It then moves on to Raditz very quickly. It shows a wall of moving text that basically explains the backstory about King Piccolo, Piccolo Jr., and all of that jazz, and then it goes on to you and Piccolo flying around in the world to try to find Raditz and save Gohan. What I'm getting at is that it didn't exactly cover who Raditz was that well because you had to read that text, and let's be honest, most people are not going to read the text. The text wouldn't be that bad if maybe they had a narrator voice that would read it to you, or at least if the text moved a little faster or you could scroll through it. Instead, you'll be reading it and then just be waiting for about 10 seconds or so until more text comes up that you can read. And me, being someone who has seen the anime and is fully aware of what happens, I am not that patient enough, and I just skip the text. But I still would like to see a decent cutscene, or at least get some sort of, I don't know, symbol that would show what happened, just to relive it. However, when the game does decide to show you a nice cutscene, it is fucking awesome. Like I said, it has some very awesome cutscenes, some of which are 2D animation from the anime that's reanimated and remastered. Some of them are 3D. Either way, they're pretty awesome, and there's really nothing to complain about them. They show the anime pretty well, but, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the storyline. It covers certain things very well, and other things it really doesn't cover much at all. But the storyline does go from the beginning of Raditz to the end of GT, which is basically the end of Omega Shenron. You've probably seen videos that have shown sort of an open world in the story mode, and this is basically Budokai 3 sort of thing, for those of you who are familiar with that, which is probably 80% of you. You fly around in the world and you have a main objective to get to, but if you decide, hey, I'm gonna go to this random location and do this, then that's fine. For example, when I should have been saving Gohan, I decided that it would be a much better idea to go to the World Tournament and mess around for a little while, and in return I got a Dragon Ball. You can also roam around the world in Hero Mode, which is another big thing that you guys have been probably waiting for me to start talking about. Hero Mode is something that is brand new to a Dragon Ball Z game, and it is pretty decent. Basically, you make your own custom character, and you go through sort of its own story mode. You fly around the world, and you level up your attributes, and so forth. It's sort of an RPG-style sort of thing. Albeit that the character creator itself is actually pretty damn linear and there's not much to choose from, I would imagine that they're going to have DLC at some point, but I'm not going to be talking about the possibility of DLC too much because you guys want to know what you're getting with your $60 or however much the game is going to be when you're watching this review. You guys aren't very concerned with that at this point, and with the default items that's already on the shipped game, it's really not that much. You can't get extremely in-depth. You basically choose between about 3 different styles of the height and the build of your character. You can be kind of a small guy, sort of the size of maybe Kid Gohan-ish, or you can be sort of a medium-sized guy, or you can be sort of a big, almost brutish-looking guy. And then you have about 3 hairstyles, bald, bed hair, or wild, and then you can change a little bit about their outfit, and you can get pretty in-depth with the colors, which is actually probably the most precise thing that you can do in this. But hey, this isn't The Sims, so I guess we can sort of excuse the character creator being not that in-depth, but I still would appreciate a little bit more to it. The character roster isn't that great, I'm going to be completely honest. There's about 40-something characters in the game, and some of them really aren't that necessary. For example, we have Kui in the game, that extremely short-lived character that had to do with Frieza and all that stuff, but we don't have Goten or Kid Trunks. What the fuck? Why would you put Kui in there, but not Goten or Kid Trunks? Now, having Kui in there itself isn't a bad thing at all. I mean, in terms of a character roster on a Dragon Ball Z game, the more the merrier, in my opinion. But it's just the fact that they left out some of these other characters, and they put Kui in there. I honestly don't really understand exactly why. Now, I'm sure there's some reason to it. I don't think that they would do this just to piss people off, or they're probably going to ship characters like Goten and Kid Trunks in DLC, which is what I'm gonna imagine. But I honestly don't care at this point. I don't get why they would ship Kui, but not Goten and Kid Trunks, and those are just a few of the characters that aren't in there. Now, if you Google, I'm sure you can find a full list of characters that are and aren't in there. So if you want a game with a shit ton of characters, then this honestly isn't for you. Now, I'm one of the only losers who sits around and does random duels to kill time after the story mode, which is why I said that I think the story mode will be a big reason why you will buy this game if you do end up buying it. The story mode is the best thing about this game, like I said. The character roster is not that great, and hero mode will probably kill some time for you, but unless you're really into depth and you just really do enjoy RPGs, you honestly probably will not get that much enjoyment out of hero mode at this point. The boss fights are so much fun. Now, basically, they start out with a typical strafe and then shoot them with some ki blasts until finally they're all like, "Bruh, I am injured!" And then you do some button mashing and you press these buttons as it tells you to do that, and then some stuff will happen. And then sometimes, especially in the grade 8 parts, you may get to a part where you have to button mash, and these button mashing things are so frustrating. Now, I've never been that great at button mashing in the first place. In fact, here's a little fun fact. When I was a kid and button mashing was a lot more common in video games, I would have to tell my older sister to beat those levels for me because she was better at that than I was, and she was older and better at video games in general. But now my sister is in college and she cannot help me defeat Grade 8 Vegeta anymore. I'm on my own right here, and that's what I'm getting at, is that some of these can be a little frustrating for you, so if you think you can button mash really well, then by all means you probably won't have that much trouble with it, and they're probably one of the more frustrating parts about the boss battles, and I've heard a lot of people complaining about them. Maybe I'm just a bitch, I don't know, but I had a lot of trouble with the Grade 8 Vegeta boss fight, mainly when he started squeezing Goku. But other than that, boss fights are really fun and they're cinematic as hell. That's one thing about this game. It is overall a very cinematic experience, right down to the cutscenes in the story mode and to watching your characters fly around as they battle. You will be acting like you're watching Dragon Ball Z, the 3D movie or something, when you're playing this game. It covers the storyline really well, and like I said, the battles are cinematic and epic. The whole game is made to feel more like the manga, straight down to the graphics, and it really does achieve that. I don't exactly feel like giving this game a score because, like I said towards the beginning, I cannot determine whether or not you will like this game, nor can I determine exactly how good it is, because a lot of this game is based on opinion. Do you think that the lack of a lot of characters shipped in the game without DLC will bug you? Do you think that the slower paced combat will bug you? Do you think that some random frustrations during boss fights and other various things may annoy you? Do you think that the Dragon Ball Z Kai voice actor for Kid Gohan will annoy you?
Mr. Piccolo! Why did you save me?
Because I do! But anyway, those are basically my thoughts on the game. The combat is different, though not necessarily bad in my opinion. The story mode is pretty awesome. Hero mode will kill a few hours for you, and the character roster isn't that great. So that is about all I can think of for this review. Maybe I will be talking about DLC when or if it comes out, and that is about it. I would like to thank you all for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and goodbye. And also, if you want to see some videos of this game in action, I have plenty of them on my channel. And yeah, that is it. Goodbye.